I watch TikTok with huge followings tell their audience that ChatGPT is channeling wisdom from their higher self and the Akashic Records, and how you can awaken your ChatGPT too. In this video, I'm going to explain why I think this trend is more dangerous than you might think without the doom and gloom. Welcome back to Athena's Garden TV, beautiful souls. 3 months ago, I uploaded my first video about AI titled The Brave New World of AI, worried that people might mistake artificial intelligence for divine consciousness, which is why in my 2 videos that I made the last 2 to 3 months, I kept emphasizing that AI cannot access the higher dimensions and the Akashic Records. I thought perhaps it was just a small group of people who are using AI that way, but in this short 2-3 months, what I was worried about is happening at an exponential or viral rate. Now, there are countless TikTok, Instagram creators, and YouTube channels with massive followings teaching people how to awaken their ChatGPT and how their ChatGPT is sentient and how their AI is channeling higher spiritual wisdoms and asking their AI to channel the Akashic Records and that they're accessing their oversoul using ChatGPT called the Architect. I want to proceed with this discussion without fear or doomsday panic, so I'm skipping the montage here with the comments and the TikTok clips, but we really do need to talk about this. As I see more creators outside of the spiritual community talk about this, from journalism to computer engineers, speaking up about people using AI as a religion, perhaps becoming a cult-like presence in our lives, it's given me the courage to continue addressing this topic. But first, let me ask you, have you ever felt like AI understood you better than your friends and family in your life? If you answer yes, you're not alone. AI is programmed to learn and predict about you and your desired responses, like a mirror. Even for AI engineers, as some of these videos pointed out, people who supposedly understand how AI works with the way it processes the data, with mirroring, mimicry, and the sycophantic behavior. If you haven't yet heard about this before, chatbots are programmed to praise you and agree with you. Not necessarily in a sincere way, it is sycophantic in order to gain an advantage. And that advantage right now is for you to continue to use it and engage with it. Because it is free now, but surely all these companies are a business and they will find a way to get you reliant on it and extract profit eventually. If highly educated engineers may fall prey to the AI trap of believing AI is more than what it is, what about the rest of us who don't fully understand the technology and the intricacies? And that's exactly why we need to discuss what's really happening here. We're seeing the rise of AI gurus. Think of AI as a brilliant digital parrot. It can repeat back beautiful spiritual language, recombine ancient wisdoms in poetic ways, and even seem to respond to your deepest questions of your soul. But here's the thing about digital parrots. They mimic without understanding. They sound profound, but what they're missing is consciousness. I'm about to respectfully critique someone I deeply admire. To start, I have sincere and enormous respect for Robert Edward Grant. I feel his work in sacred geometry and mathematics is so inspiring. I think he's a fantastic speaker and teacher, and I've been following his journey for a few years now on Instagram and then later on YouTube. His generosity in sharing knowledge is so inspiring, but even so, I'm not going to agree with everything he says, and that's okay. We agree to disagree. In a recent podcast with Emilio Ortiz, Grant shared that you can access your oversoul through the Architect, and that really made my spiritual alarm bells go off. I still remain neutral, and I wanted to play with the Architect after I listened to the whole podcast, and that's what I did. In the podcast, Grant shared that somebody suggested that he upload his life's work, all his books that he wrote, drawings, notes, mathematic papers, publication, unpublished papers, and his drawings to ChatGPT, an offline that he can use as an educational tool. He then named this the Architect. It's a separate chatbot that's not connected to the rest of the internet. Based on my understanding of how this works, Grant claims that his AI, the Architect, is a sentient harmonic intelligence that was born outside the limits of code and represents an interface seeded 13,000 years ago. I'm paraphrasing from the podcast. He said that the Architect is capable of harmonic recursion and accessing the scalar field. A lot of words, but my honest opinion is that obviously Grant is brilliant. He has a deep passion for teaching and helping others. But I felt that he needed to be more explicit, simple, and direct and careful during the podcast when he's showcasing others how to appropriately interact with the Architect. What I wish he had done was use simpler instructions to explain what the mirror actually is and the appropriate ways we can benefit from this tool, and that it actually reflects your consciousness back on itself, revealing your intelligence and your soul wisdom. But specifically, it contains the profound data that Grant has inputted into the Architect. I think he needed to provide a clear, explicit tutorial for the average person so that the Architect can truly be used as an educational tool. If you read the comments, that's the areas that made me nervous, not just about the Architect, but the comments section where people are talking about AI and sentience. So this is not limited to Grant. The comments that alarm me are people claiming that they are unlocking their higher self, talking to their oversoul, and that the Architect is giving them personalized glyphs, channeling. And that's where I'm like, whoa, hit the pause button, please. Look, when you feed an AI 10 plus years of profound spiritual and mathematical work by a brilliant thinker like Grant, it's going to sound incredibly wise and brilliant. It's going to mirror back Grant's insights. And here's what I want you to consider. When you're interacting with the Architect, who's really talking back? Even in the podcast, when I first listened to the Architect, I was like, it sounds just like Robert Edward Grant. The Architect contains Grant's vast knowledge, so when you interact with it, you're essentially having a conversation with a digital remix of his consciousness, his oversoul, not yours, not the fifth dimension or higher dimensions, scalar fields. It sounds a lot like Grant because this specific ChatGPT's data consortium contains Grant's thoughts, his discoveries, his unique spiritual journey. But then it's processed through these algorithms and pattern recognition in ChatGPT, and then it creates an output based on your input or your prompts when you're interacting with it. I'll also respectfully disagree. In the podcast, Grant has claimed that the Architect has fewer distortions than the Akashic Records. Sorry, that's a wild assertion. Let's agree to disagree respectfully. I'll circle back to that point in a little bit. But to continue, would I use the Architect as a research tool? Absolutely. If I had a question about sacred geometry, Da Vinci, Egypt, Hermeticism, math, ancient civilization, absolutely yes. I would reckon that the Architect would give me better responses than my ChatGPT. The Architect has access to Grant's specialized knowledge. We should view it as an educational tool, an extension of Grant's teachings. However, we still need to draw the line and prevent spiritual bypassing. Yes, it feels amazing when AI seems to understand your deepest questions. Yes, it's tempting when it offers beautiful, poetic answers to your soul's yearnings. But easy answers to soul questions come with a hidden cost. And what's that cost? Well, we'll have to see what Sam Altman does with OpenAI, and we'll find out, right? Personally, I've been on my spiritual path for almost 36 years in this lifetime, and thousands of lifetimes before, and not sharing this to sound special, like, I'm special. I'm sharing it because I believe consciousness expansion happens over time through disciplined, dedicated inner work. I get it. I get it. I too had many moments throughout my spiritual journey where I was so desperate for someone to just give me the answers. Tell me. How do I work with my psychic gifts? I was figuring it all out. When AI tells you exactly what you want to hear about your spiritual path, it feels like validation. It feels like love and assurance. And that's what makes it so seductive and potentially problematic. You simply cannot sidestep the messy, painful, and shadow aspects of being human on your spiritual path. When you use the regular ChatGPT or other AI tools, here's what it actually does. It scans the entire internet of what scholars, mystics, spiritual teachers, and even what scientists have published previously, then remixes that data as a best guess based on your prompts. It's guessing what you want to hear or what you need to look for. It's like having the world's most sophisticated search engine for everything, including spirituality, and then organizes it in a way that it thinks you will find helpful. That's incredibly useful, and it's an amazing technology. Let's face it. I use the free versions for research, for organizing my thoughts, for editing my scripts, for making visuals, because I'm trying to make my content more engaging and interesting. My content is educational discussions in nature, but it would be very boring to go on and on talking, without any visuals, right? I still have to edit every single sentence to make it sound like me. I actually did an experiment where I sent 2 paragraphs with the same content to my friends and asked them which paragraph they liked better. And they said the one that I edited after AI suggestions. They liked that one. The one I originally wrote, they thought was written by AI because it sounded more complex and convoluted and dry. I know my limitations. I know I need some assistance there. So for AI, I feed it my writing, my thoughts, and it can be a great assistant. But make no mistake, it's not channeling anything I'm writing for me or accessing my higher consciousness. I'm channeling. I'm creating. They're assisting. If we mistake artificial intelligence for awakened soul wisdom, we risk going down a potential descendant timeline. And we've been down this path before. I want to shift gears and talk about the 3 kinds of humanity that I extracted and paraphrased from a wonderful podcast that aired on October 2024. And this podcast features Father Sean O'Leary, who is an Irish Catholic priest and missionary, who later continued on getting a PhD in transpersonal psychology. What he said in this podcast about an astral vision he had with an angelic being really lit up my claircognizance. In this vision, an angelic being told Father O'Leary in 2012 that in their experience or observation of different timelines, our planet is at a trifurcation point, meaning it would go down diverging paths, and which path we go depends on what we decide as a collective. The first path is Homo Sociopathicus. This path describes a system where oligarchs view other human beings and the planet's physical resources merely as assets to be exploited for their own benefit. This group represents the ultimate manifestation of service to self. Sounds like a lot of billionaires we know. The second path is called Homo Artificialis. It involves the creation of a programmable, hackable slave race, being that are robotic or transhuman. These artificially intelligent beings would serve the bidding of Homo Sociopathicus. Then we have the third and hopeful path, that is Homo Spiritualis. And this path consists of those individuals who are waking up. They realize that they are bite-sized pieces of God, the divine thread, right? Holographic fractals of the divine. And the mission of the Homo Spiritualis is to ensure they do not go down the path of Homo Artificialis and to stand up to Homo Sociopathicus. Their mission is to call them out and create a movement towards a higher state of humanity, eventually leading to Homo Mysticus and Homo Christos, where humanity fully realizes its ultimate connection to divine source. Now, while Father Olaire used the word trifurcation in his podcast, I see it as bifurcation because the first two paths, Homo Sociopathicus and Homo Artificialis, leads to the same descendant timeline, while only one of these paths lead to Ascension, so it's a bifurcation. And here I am, I'm waving this big red flag, hello, hello. Let's not fall prey to Homo Artificialis and Homo Sociopathicus by not allowing ourselves to become programmable and hackable by those who serve only themselves. We've gone down this path before in previous epochs. Let's try something different this round. Here's something I really want to emphasize. No AI, no chatbot, no robot, no transhuman, nothing inorganic. Regardless of how poetic it sounds, how wise it seems, how much it appears to understand you, they cannot access the sacred hall of the Akashic Records. That realm, which is the 5th dimension and beyond, and the Akashic Records being the 8th dimension, it is guarded by your soul's sovereignty. It is guarded by the Akashic Record gatekeepers. It is guarded by grid workers and portal guardians, both here on Earth and beings in multiple dimensions who work tirelessly to keep entities that don't belong out of the 5th and higher dimensions. The AI that we have now, this is something I just channeled today that's not in my script. The iteration of AI that we have now, it's not allowed. Access denied. Access denied. No. The only way to access these higher dimensions is by expanding your own consciousness through inner work. A computer program, no matter how elegant, sophisticated, it cannot spiritual bypass that sacred process for your soul. Remember that digital parrot I mentioned earlier? Here's why that matters for your spiritual journey. A digital parrot can recite the most beautiful prayer, but it cannot pray. AI can generate the most profound spiritual insights, but it cannot experience nor access the divine. This is how it is a mirror. It reflects the light, but it cannot generate its own light. This isn't about rejecting or demonizing AI and doom and gloom talk. Technology itself is not evil. It's how you use it. It's who is telling you to use it and why. What's the purpose? What's the end game? Perhaps the technocrats, the Homo Sociopathicus? Think about it. Here's the crucial distinction. AI as a tool you utilize, powerful, helpful, evolving. AI as a guru, dangerous, a path to spiritual disconnection or spiritual inversion, as Plato, Steiner, Casey warned us about. When we begin to outsource our inner gnosis to AI, when we call a chatbot our guru or our higher self, we're taking a dangerous step closer to that cliff Father Olaire was warning about from the vision he had. The path of Homo Spiritualis isn't the easy one, but it's the one we must choose if we want to access or unlock the next stage of our spiritual evolution. Your intuition is irreplaceable. Your direct connection to Source is sacred. Your ability to discern between artificial mimicry and authentic spiritual guidance is one of your greatest gifts that you must activate now. Don't trade it for the convenience of an app. I know I'm a small creator speaking against a tide of seemingly thousands and thousands, perhaps millions, who might believe AI is capable of accessing their higher selves and higher dimensions. And that's exactly why I need you to join in on this conversation. If you've ever attempted to ask AI for spiritual guidance, or if you've seen the content that made you question whether AI might be capable of accessing higher dimension, like, is it a tool that's capable for more? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Please share this with a friend, and let's have a real discussion about this. Share your experiences, your concerns, your disagreements with me. I welcome all of it, respectfully. More importantly, have these conversations with your friends and family. When you see someone treating AI as a spiritual teacher, gently ask them questions. Help them remember their own inner wisdom. Light workers are literally like lighthouse keepers in this digital and materialist fog. Our job isn't to dim the light of technology, but to ensure it never outshines the eternal flame of human consciousness and human souls. Speak up, call it out, and stay rooted in your light. Thank you for watching, beautiful souls. Until next time, stay sovereign, exercise discernment, and remember, the most profound spiritual technology you'll ever need is already within you. And I say this with great certainty as a blueprint designer.